Welcome in, everyone, to the Bend, Oregon Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Eggers, principal broker here at Duke Warner Realty, 20 years experience selling real estate here in Bend. And I'm with my business partner, Katrina Swisher, also 20 years experience selling real estate here in Bend. And Katrina, we just did last week a podcast on our forecast for 2023. And we stated what our predictions are. But this week already, we're starting to see a pretty big kick in the market. We've both had some experiences that have been kind of surprising for mid-January. And I just wanted to talk about a few of those things. And one in particular was an article that just recently came up that I'll have you speak a little bit about.
Yeah, so this article released by CNBC talks about mortgage applications. And mortgage applications jumped nearly 28% this last week over the previous week. That's a huge increase in activity. I think buyers returned from the holiday season to find mortgage rates at their lowest level since September. And that's bringing a lot of new demand to the market today.
28% jump in 1 week is, I think, notable. So obviously buyers are seeing something there that's causing them to react. We're past the holidays and it's just early January, but they're jumping on properties.
Mm-hmm.
So this is mortgage applications.
Yes.
Okay, so these are buyers that are probably under contract. They're making mortgage applications.
Right, new buyers to the market who are applying for a loan.
Yeah. So we definitely wanted to share that with you guys. I mean, I think, again, 28% increase in 1 week is big. And I think it also has to be tied to that other thing you said, which was the lowest rates since when?
Lowest rates since September of last year. So, we hit our peak in December at over 7%, and now we're back down to around 6%.
Yeah.
So that's a big improvement, and I think buyers are reacting to that in a really positive way.
Yeah, for sure. So 6%. I think when I looked this morning, it was 6.04, and when we did our podcast last week, it was 6.1.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, I think it was 6.25, and then, of course, going back 60 days ago. 70 days ago, we were in the sevens.
In the sevens.
So that's a big drop.
We've seen a continuous decrease in the rate, the past 4 weeks or so.
Right. Yeah.
Or maybe not that long, couple weeks.
Yeah. So the other thing that we wanted to look at was an increase in pending sales. So these numbers are kind of interesting to look at. So in December, we had 44 homes go under contract. That's for the whole month.
The whole month.
This is according to our MLS. Here we are, January 18th, and we've had 63 homes go under contract. That's a 43% increase.
So far this month.
Right. We're not even done with the month.
Right.
So that's a big boost.
Big boost in activity. I mean, December was very quiet. The numbers were down across the board in sales, new homes going under contract. But that's obviously changing. We're seeing that shift in the market right now already in the first 2 weeks of January.
Yeah. I think you make a good point. December is a quiet month, period. But when you have interest rates doing what they were doing and the holiday season and kind of everyone's on their heels like, wow, the market's changing. No one wanted to really dive in.
Mm-hmm.
It was a definite quiet month, but for January to kind of flip that on its back and have a 43% increase so far, and we're not even done with the month. What are we going to end up at?
Right. There's new listings coming on the market. Obviously, the interest rates are affecting the buyers in wanting to go ahead and get pre-approved and start looking.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those factors, and we're definitely headed in the right direction.
Yeah. That's to me in January that's a big bump.
Hmm.
Because usually we get through the holidays and things are kind of slow, a little bit sluggish in January, and then in February the phone starts to ring a little
Hmm.
bit more. People start talking about, oh, I want to list my home this spring, but already in January it's kind of popping.
Yeah, we don't typically see that jump in activity that quickly in January. So it is definitely, a good sign for our market that it's happening already.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of why we wanted to highlight this today because, like I said, we just gave our predictions, but even a week later, we're starting to feel and notice some
Hmm.
things that are, I think, kind of significant
Hmm.
for what the market's doing right now. In fact, we have both had situations since the beginning of the year, personally in our business, that have shown us that the market has been aggressive. Like you had the one early December or early January that you already talked about. Tell me about that again. It was
Right. So it was January 3rd,
okay.
and wrote an offer on a listing that had been on the market for a couple weeks, but over the holidays it came on a new listing around the middle of December. But on January 3rd, wrote an offer, and they had 3 offers come in that day.
Wow. That day.
That day. Yeah.
So January 3rd. So you had obviously New Year's, no
Hmm.
one's doing anything. January 2nd, and then on January 3rd, just 3 offers came in.
Yeah.
It's so weird how
So
that
so
happens.
random how that happens.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have you looked at a house over the years? It's like, oh, it's been on 73 days, and you write an offer, and it's like,
Hmm.
oh, we got another offer on it. I mean, things like that happen.
Hmm.
But to have 3 all at once is definitely significant. And from the fall, we're kind of almost used to like, okay, if we're going to write an offer on a property, they haven't been multiple offer situations.
Right.
Yes, we're used to that from our recent past, but not the most recent past. Like this fall, we weren't in a lot of multiple offer situations. So it's kind of surprising again to find that.
Right. Very unexpected for my buyer. He did not expect that situation to happen.
Okay. And how
Um,
did he handle that?
well, and the urgency hasn't been there.
Mm,
The need to write the offer right now hasn't really been there the last few months.
right.
You go take a look and you think about it and you have time.
Hmm.
Just no sense of urgency in our market. And I had to let him know, hey, they just let me know another offer is coming in. And by the time we submitted our offer, they had 2 other offers.
That is, when you're a buyer,
So,
that's pretty disappointing.
yeah, he was very surprised.
Uh-huh. Well, myself included, this last weekend, there was a new listing that came on the market. It was a bit unique, kind of in a good way. Not like not like your average home, but it came on the market. They had open house Saturday and Sunday, wall to wall traffic. The agent that held it open said it was the most busy open house he's ever done.
Wow.
There was a line of cars and people coming through. So they set it up to where I think it went live Thursday or Friday. Offers were due um, like at 5 o'clock on Sunday. I think they were Sunday or Monday. I can't remember.
Offers were due by Monday,
Monday. Okay, so yeah, that's right.
Monday
Offers.
afternoon.
That's right. Offers were due by Monday at 3, and so we kind of scrambled. We saw it on Sunday. We scrambled, put an offer together. By Monday, 7 offers.
Wow.
7 offers on this property. This is like taking me back to
Hmm.
2002 and 1
Yeah.
all over again.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. So I was going through my old notes, which are very handy for multiple offer
Hmm.
situations, and we're pulling out some of the stops, like eliminating some of the things to make it more competitive. We gave free possession after closing. We did some of all the tricks, but really price was king in this one. And he went over $25,000, but it wasn't enough.
Still didn't get.
Yeah, still didn't get it. So, and it's fine because I told the buyer, and this is a really important point, and I think in a multiple offer situation, is that you want to make an offer that you can be at peace with if somebody beats you out. Like, hey, if they want to spend more on it than that, let them have it. But you don't want to make an offer where you're kicking yourself going, oh, I could have easily gone 20 grand higher. Why didn't I do that?
Right. You have one shot.
You got one shot. So I told him, make your best offer that you're going to sleep with just fine if somebody beats you out. And that's what he did. And it wasn't enough. So guess what? He's at peace with it.
Right. No regrets. It wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, it wasn't meant to be. So he tried, he put his best foot forward, and it is what it is. But I don't know. It's just crazy that we're in that situation so surprisingly, because when I'm looking last summer and last fall at our market, I'm thinking, okay, everyone's talking recession. Our market's clearly correcting. Is it going to go down now for the next 24 months? Is it going to be slow for the next 24 months? I mean, most recessions last 2 years. The last housing crisis, which was an anomaly, that was different. That lasted 4 years. But here we are just 6 months kind of into this thing, and it's showing some serious signs of life.
Right. Right. I mean, it's too early to really know what this year is going to look like, but the trends so far are pointing in a more positive direction than the way the end of last year looked.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, trending up right now. Who knows how the market and everything will play out this year? But we just had to highlight what's happening because it's kind of surprising for what's been going on the last 6 months.
Well, and when you mentioned the open house and how busy that this weekend, he said that open house was for him. Ryan, another agent in our office, held an open house for me on one of my listings over the weekend, and the time was 1 to 3. He was not able to leave the home until 4:30 because people kept coming through the door.
Wow. So we did a 2-hour open house, but it ended up being over 3.
Yeah, he said it was unbelievable amount of traffic. It was so busy. He was just like, what is going on? So again, January open house, not expected.
Yeah. I mean, I've done open houses in January. Don't get anyone through.
Yeah.
So it does make you wonder, like, have we already hit and are now past the bottom of our correction? I don't know. I'm going to say no, just because it just was so quick, such a quick little blip, but it could be. We could just keep launching this year. We don't know. Yeah,
I mean, like we've talked about, I don't really expect a drastic change where prices are just going to go up and we're not going to see, the market that we've had the last couple of years. But if demand is increasing and our supply is still low, if mortgage rates continue in the right direction, I think that we will really head into a more balanced year. I think right now we're seeing, buyers are feeling that there is opportunity for them in this market right now. And in some cases, not all, like the multiple offer situation, but in some cases, there's still some negotiating room. And, we may start to see that diminish a bit as we go into spring. Sellers with new listings coming on the market, if demand continues at the pace it is, we may just see, a little stronger market in general than we had last winter when the demand just was not there.
Yeah. Well, like I already said in my guy's experience, we had to throw out some of the things that you'd kind of like to have in a real estate agreement normally, try to make him more competitive. So that's definitely seller advantage right there. So yeah, it's very interesting to look at. It's too early to tell, but the trends are definitely pointing in that direction. All right, so before we go any farther, I will mention the sponsor of our show today. So sponsor of our show today is Duke Warner Realty, a premier real estate firm here in Bend that was established in 1967 by Duke and Kitty Warner and is still family owned and operated to this very day. Duke Warner has served thousands and thousands of customers throughout Central Oregon over the last 55 years, and the brokerage not only features Bend's best real estate agents, but also the most experienced, with the average agent at Duke Warner having 15 years of experience. So if you want your next transaction done right with honesty and integrity, give Duke Warner Realty a call today at 541-382-8262 or visit them online at dukewarner.com. And I think with that, Katrina, 15 years average experience for an agent at Duke Warner Realty is pretty huge.
Mm-hmm.
I think the average lifespan, so to speak, of the average real estate agent in America is like less than 3 years.
Wow.
It's really low. Like most people get in and out of the business quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So to have a firm
Mm-hmm.
where our agents have that kind of longevity, pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's definitely unique. I don't think there's really any other firm in town that is like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some firms in town actually that kind of are more like new agent firms.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of cater to more new agents. Duke Warner's kind of the opposite. We have more of like this stable of really experienced brokers here.
Yeah.
So
We don't have very much turnover either.
yeah,
Our agents not only do they have an average of 15 years experience, they've also have been here at this same company for so long.
right. Yeah. All right, Katrina. So speaking of experience, we had one of our listeners request to get a little bit of background information on us. So what we did is we've come up with some questions. It's kind of 5 fun facts about each of us that we're going to ask each other so we can kind of share a little bit and our audience can get to know us and hear a little bit about our background. So I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
Okay, putting you on the spot first. So first question is how long have you been in Bend and how did you get into real estate?
Well, my family moved to Bend from San Diego in 1992. So I've been here for 30 years. And we moved here.
That's almost OG status.
Pretty much.
Getting up there.
We moved here in the winter of 92, 93, which everyone compares our Snowmageddon years to, because it was a major Snowmageddon back then.
Tough adjustment for a California family.
Yes, for sure. We thought it was great. But so I went to high school here. I graduated from Mountain View High School. And
With honors, I'm sure.
oh, of course.
Absolutely.
So real estate. I got into real estate. I was pretty young. At 18, I started working at a real estate office here in town. It was the largest firm at the time. And
I want to mention the name is called Professional Realty.
Professional Realty.
I mean, some of the old timers will go, oh yeah, Professional Realty. Like when I first started in real estate, Professional Realty was a big deal.
Oh, it was the biggest company in town, and it was owned and operated by some of our legendary real estate brokers in this town.
Yeah. And now they're not even existing. They turned into Remax. But that Remax has since went away during the recession.
Right.
So really interesting.
So I worked there for 3 years. I was just an administrative assistant, did all the background work, which was great experience. But doing that for a few years, the natural next step seemed to be to get my license.
Nice.
So I've been licensed ever since. I think I got my license. It was 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I didn't end up at Duke Warner until 2003, and I've been here ever since.
Awesome. Okay, next question is how did you possibly survive the great housing crisis from 2008 to 12?
Gosh, it was tough.
Yeah. Took a little bit of skin off of us.
Yeah.
Pretty rough.
I think some of it, I was motivated, honestly, by the fact that people didn't think I could do it.
Interesting.
And I do remember that. I was a single mom at the time, and times were tough, and
Wow.
and it was kind of like, well, maybe you should get a real job. And I honestly was motivated by, I can do this, and I will do this, and I will be successful at it.
That's pretty cool.
And the how came next.
Yeah.
And you're a big part of the how. At that point, we both had been working here independently.
Yep.
And should I tell the story and the beginning of the how?
Sure, why not?
Well, you moved offices
Yeah.
from this building that we're in now to our annex building across the parking lot.
Yep.
And I came over to check on you and making small talk. Your office was a mess. And
I had a lot of irons in the fire trying to survive.
I thought you needed help to get organized.
I did.
And one thing led to another, and we decided to start working together.
Kind of a saving grace for me because I was doing short sales, and I'll jump back into that later, but the paperwork is immense.
Right.
And you came in, I've got like bank statements from people all over the place. I got to send faxes out, and you're like, this is a nightmare.
Yeah. And my background's more in that, administrative side. I excel in the paperwork part of it.
Yeah.
And so it was a natural fit for us, and then obviously diving into short sales, because what else was there to do in this market to survive except find a niche in a way to continue on in business, and the primary business was short sales.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what is your favorite activity or pastime?
Well, I'm a big concert goer. That brings me joy. I'm a country music fan.
You're like a groupie?
You could say.
That's awesome. Who's your favorite band?
So I basically go to every concert there is in Bend. Now with the amphitheater being Live Nation. And
you do go to almost all of them.
So I do. So that is one of my favorite pastimes. I can't say that I have a favorite, but if it's country music, I'm there.
Does security know you by name?
Oh, yeah. No, I have my in with security.
Unbelievable. Wow. They wouldn't know me from Adam. That's impressive. Okay, so the next thing is name one thing about you that most people don't know. And I'm actually going to answer this question for you.
Yay.
So Katrina might not realize this, but maybe you do just in this little conversation. She's definitely a neat freak. Highly organized. Has to wash her car a minimum of once a week. She has like a lifetime membership to the car wash down here. Constantly washing her car. It's like everyone else is driving around with dirty cars. You always have a clean car. It just blows me away. Has to take a bath every single night, as far as I know. Is that still the case?
Yes, that is the nightly routine.
Gosh, that's amazing. And cold weather, you love soup. What is it about soup?
I don't know. It takes me back to my childhood, I guess. I don't know. My grandma always made soup.
Like Alphabet, Campbell's, or what?
I love all soup. If it's cold outside, I want to have soup. So I don't know. It's a comfort food, obviously, and I hate the cold, so that's comforting to me. Makes the day a little better if I can have.
That makes sense. And speaking of your laugh right there, the other thing about Katrina is when she gets in a panicky situation or freaks out, she doesn't cry, she doesn't scream, she starts giggling. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you giggle and kind of giggle cry.
I do. I giggle until I'm crying.
Yeah, it's really funny to watch.
It's pretty uncontrollable. And this happens.
I try to put you in those situations as much as possible so I could see it happen, but it's sometimes hard.
Yeah, it's a bit hysterical.
Sometimes hard to trigger.
And no control over that one.
All right, so last question for you is, what is your most memorable real estate experience?
There's been a lot. It's hard to really think back over the years. One that stands out to me, I was showing property. I was actually just down here on the west side, and it was after dark, and we walked in a little west side home that had tenants, and the tenant forgot we were coming. Happens.
Not that uncommon, right?
Not that uncommon. So when they were home, they were cooking weed on the stove.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
awesome.
It smelled great. And
so I don't really understand that, cooking weed.
Well, they were cooking it down to make cookies or brownies.
Oh, so not going to smoke it.
Right.
They're cooking it. Okay,
cooking it for edibles.
Okay, you can tell I don't have a lot of experience with
right.
this. Sorry.
So it was very obvious what they were doing, just given the smell and their reaction to us walking in the door, and so it was a bit awkward to say the least.
Yeah.
Awkward for my client. We have to deal with awkward situations all the time sometimes with our clients, but
wow,
that one was an unexpected situation.
Yeah. And did they offer you the subsequent pot brownie?
I think they did, actually.
Oh, really? Nice. At least a taste of the batter.
They were very welcoming. Like, oh, yeah, you come on in and you want some.
Oh, that's fun. Mm-hmm. That's hilarious. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's great. I guess I'll turn it over to you and you can ask me about the fun facts for me.
Yes. So tell us about how long you've been in Bend and how you got into real estate.
Yeah, so let's see. I've been in Bend. We moved in 2001. I was working in the .com industry up in Seattle. And right after September 11th, there was massive layoffs and the whole .com industry was already imploding at that point. And we wanted to move to Bend at some point, but my company at that time which was called InfoSpace. They were a massive company. They were the first company to put the yellow pages online. So kind of a weird niche there, but they imploded and just started laying everybody off. So we moved in 2001, right after September 11th. And my parents were property managers in Colorado for a lot of years. And so I kind of had some experience with real estate just from the property management side with them. And what I loved about real estate was it wasn't selling like a corporate widget to a corporate buyer that didn't really care about the widget. To me, selling real estate was selling the American dream and working with people, not a corporate buyer, trying to help people, trying to get them into a home. I loved that concept. And that's really what drew me into getting into real estate.
Okay. So how did you survive the great housing crisis?
Okay, so how did I survive? Okay, interesting story. I actually had an epiphany one day because I had a very good 2005 and 6 leading up to real estate crash. In fact, everybody told me, oh, when you start real estate, if you can make it to your 5th year, you're set. Once you make it to your 5th year, it'll be a lot easier. Well, in my 5th year, the real estate market crashed and I basically had to start over. And I remember I got a call from a lady who I really loved, and she was a great client of mine. And she called me just stressed out of her mind. She was totally upside down in her house, and she had to sell because she lost her job. And I ran the comps. I'm like, how can I sell this home? It's worth $75,000 less than what she bought it for, and she doesn't have $75,000 into closing. And I just kind of sat there and pondered it for a while, and I just had this epiphany of like, you know what? I've sold all these homes to people. I have to help them out of this. And I'm going to have to figure out short sales, and I'm going to have to just dive in and just do it and try to help these people that are in this crisis. And I did it kind of feeling like I'm walking to the gallows. Like, I can't believe I'm having to do this because nobody wanted to do short sales. It was a nightmare. And I did it, I think, kind of reluctantly, but out of obligation to my clients. But in hindsight, it actually completely saved me because it was the only thing that kept me going for 4 years doing short sales. So if I didn't do it, I would have probably been out of business. So it was really a roundabout blessing that happened in my business. And it was so hard. I mean, every single day for years. I mean, not every single day, but every transaction I did for years, people were in tears, like crying, losing their home, their everything. It was really, so short sales was how I got through it. And you were a big part of that, helping me get through short sales. I mean, I think our longest transaction was 9 months. And you're making hardly any money on it. We were always joking about what's our time per hour on this, like 50 cents. I mean, we put negative, right? We put months and months of work into it, and then the banks would reduce our commission so much. We get like a $3,000 commission check for 9 months of work. It was insane.
Yeah, the huge headaches.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, if we weren't doing them, then what?
Yeah.
I don't know what else you'd be doing.
That's it. It really kind of saved my business, oddly enough.
So tell us about your favorite activity or pastime.
Okay, so I love to fly fish. That's probably my biggest thing. I love to hunt. I love to bird hunt. I have a bird dog. She's a German short hair pointer. I have an old one that's retired. So those are probably my 2 favorite pastimes. So I also just love, going on vacations with my family. That's probably tops the list, actually. Just seeing things with my family, having that really intense family time. Like, we have a truck camper, and last year we went to Glacier National Park. We were 10 days on the road with the 4 of us. That was just amazing. And just having that intense family time together is probably my favorite thing.
Yeah. Can't get much closer than having two teenage boys in a camper.
Yeah, we're packed in there. It's like sardines. But you know what? It's funny because we get on the road and we get going and we just kind of all come together and it just becomes fun. It's not like we're all, scratching each other's eyes out in there the whole time. We have a lot of fun. So it's great.
That's great. Name one thing about you that most people don't know. And now it's my turn to answer for you.
Please be kind.
Oh gosh, we both could go back and forth on this quite a bit, but one thing that stands out is you have a lot of texture issues. Like you don't like sand.
Yes. Sand needs to stay at the beach.
Or anything on your hands, like slimy things or germs, or the feeling that you might have touched something germy. So
I don't know if it's germs so much. You keep saying germs, but yes, I do like to wash my hands. I like to keep my hands clean, especially if I'm going to eat something. If I use like a public bathroom, of course, I'm washing it really carefully. But it's more texture, like for what was it? April Fools.
Yes.
You put Vaseline on the handles of my drawers.
Yes,
That was
and
that
your
was
pen
not cool.
and your computer and your mouse.
Yeah, everything I touched, I got Vaseline on my hands. That's not cool.
Big mistake.
On your part.
So that on my part.
Right.
So that's another thing about you is, as I learned very quickly, do not play a joke on Rob.
Why?
Oh, because the retaliation is so much worse.
But I'm just getting even.
No,
Just getting even.
times 1,000.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I was warned even by your wife, like, oh boy, you have it coming now. So
Well, what the idea there is that you make it painful enough that they don't get you again in the future.
that is true.
Have you put anything Vaseline on my desk ever since that?
I have never played a prank on you since.
Right, because what I did to retaliate with her is I gave Katrina a little gift bag with a snake in it. He really doesn't like snakes.
Really doesn't like is an understatement.
Yeah, kind of sent her through the roof there.
That's when you realized I have that hysterical laugh. Cry.
Yes, I did see that
Yes.
at that point for sure.
Yes. And one extra little fun fact about you is you were in the Christmas Vacation movie.
Yes, I was an extra in one part, the part where they're in the family truckster getting the Christmas tree and the green truck is chasing him. I was in that green truck for a moment. So they filmed it in my hometown. So that's how that happened.
Very cool.
Yeah. So it was
And
is that the last one?
Last one. What is your most memorable real estate experience?
Oh yes. I have a lot of memorable real estate experiences over the year. I mean, I've had people in the transaction pass away. That was pretty rough. I've had an enormous house flood in escrow, like an upstairs bathroom flooded, and the can lights in the ceiling look like showers. I mean, the water was pouring through everything. That happened. There was one time I went to show a house and a lady was in the shower. That was crazy awkward. But the worst one ever, I think, was I had a duplex that I listed. One side was occupied, the other side was vacant. And that's just how it was. So I sold it, and then we had a home inspection. And I told the inspector, I said, why don't you go ahead and inspect the vacant side first? So, it had been a couple, 2-3 weeks since I had been in there. And I open up the door for him. I open up the door, and this is the vacant side of the duplex. And there's, in the living room, a camp chair just sitting in the living room. I was like, I don't remember that. But that's really weird. And then I kind of stepped in a little bit more, and there was like a couple pots and pans on the countertop. And I was like, oh my gosh, someone's been in here. And the home inspector's like with me, thankfully. I was like, this is kind of awkward. And I'm like, hello, is anybody here? And I'm calling out, no answer. I go upstairs. One of the bedroom doors was closed. And I knock, and there's no answer. And I open it. There's a mattress on the floor and a woman sleeping.
Wow.
On the ground in a vacant duplex, Northeast Bend. And I was like, I kind of closed the door and I knocked really loud. I think she was kind of like a little out of it from the night's activities or something, passed out on drugs or alcohol. I'm not sure because she wasn't quite right.
Mm-hmm.
But got her up. She came downstairs. And I was like, "How did you get in here?" It's like, "Oh, well, I'm just here because my friend let me in." And I'm like, I think it may have been a past tenant when they moved out, gave her the key or something like that. But the home inspector is like, "Do not leave me. Do not leave me here with this woman." So I stayed there the whole time. I called the owner who lived in California. They were out of town owner. Told them about it. So that was pretty awkward, and just a really uncomfortable situation to come in on somebody sleeping that's not even supposed to be there. They're there totally illegally, like a squatting at the house.
Yeah. How'd they get them out?
I think we just basically told her that, it's a private property and you have to go. I can't remember I don't think we called the police. I don't have that memory. I think we just told her she had to be out, and I think by the next day she was gone. We would have got the police involved if we had to, but I don't think we needed to.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was pretty crazy. So, there's lots of crazy stories out there in real estate. If you do it long enough, like we have, you're bound to come up with something weird. So, yeah. All right, well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's show. Thanks so much for tagging along with us. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you're following us on one of the podcast apps, be sure to follow the show and click the notification bell so you're notified every time a new show is dropped. So anyway, thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Take care.